Hello, my name's Lynn Cox. I'm a visually impaired visual artist. So we decided to set up the MaMoMi Moments, which is a group held once a week of visually impaired artists. And we actually found it such a creative time. You know, before the COVID, I was quite isolated, just making works, not getting any feedback. What I was making, was it relevant? It really tricky. So as an artist, I was feeling more isolated, and it gave us a sense of community. So it actually changed or enhanced what MaMoMi does. You know, we were providing the services to places, to events for people, but we probably wasn't supporting visually impaired artists to such a degree to support each other and that peer support. So we did a lovely big exhibition in 2016 which showcased 16 visually impaired artists, again of all art forms, but it was almost pulling them together without that strong connection. And in other ways, the COVID-19 has been dreadful because I have been based in the house. You know, I've got a guide dog. If you go out on the streets with a guide dog, how can you tell you're 2 meters apart? The dog can't tell. You know, how do you go round shops? Often they've got arrows. Often they've got those barriers that come across. I don't think I've been in a shop by myself for 15 months because I'm terrified of people shouting at me that I'm going the wrong way, I'm not doing anything. So actually, everything has changed with the COVID, and that's why I wanted to make the 4 metre wide skirt as a protest about, well, how do you expect me to go about? Do you want me to wear this skirt? Then I'm insured, I've got 2 metres around me all the time. Because it does feel that daft. You know, how can you do it when you can't see?
So the exhibition is 91 Divock, and 91 Divock is a reflection on COVID-19. So that's COVID-19 backwards. Why backwards? Well, it's a reflection on how the COVID has actually impacted the artist's work. So we'll talk about how things were normal in the first place before pre-COVID, and then how that brought so much disruption to the work of the artist. But then people had the chance to reflect and take in resilience to them create new work. So COVID-19 is actually going to be an exhibition that allows the artists to show how they've adapted to the disruption that the pandemic brought. But we're creating a new body of work. Everything shown at this exhibition will be work made during the pandemic. So it's a true reflection on the COVID-19 impact. It's going to be for 10 days. We have the live event in London, the Badge House, and then we have the hybrid event, which will be online events. There will be workshops, conferences, and also masterclass sessions.
Part of why we want to do an exhibition, which is called 91 Divock, which is a reflection on COVID-19, because it's that backwards, is to highlight the issues around visual impairment and the COVID, but it's also to highlight us as visually impaired artists that we can organise, create and deliver this most wonderful exhibition of work in a central London location where we get recognition. Now that's really important because it allows MaMoMi to gain more reputation within the arts, to get to work with more visually impaired people for more organisations, but on an individual level it allows us to get the profile to help us get into more exhibitions, to be asked to do residencies, for people to ask us to do commissions of artworks.
People with visual impairments are normally the ones that are stigmatised and marginalised by society. So anywhere where people can feel empowered, get back that creative spirit, I'm all for it. So we need your support. This is a great project. Visually impaired artists showcasing how COVID has affected them, but also how it's empowered them. So we're looking for your support to enable us to have the transport, to enable us to have the facilities while we're there, to really get involved and get not just people who are in the visually impaired community to be empowered, but also to encourage people who don't understand about disability awareness, vision impairment, to just showcase our talents and our work.
Hi there, my name's David Johnston. I'm a blind artist living and working in North Hertfordshire, about 30 miles north of London. I'd like to welcome you to my studio here, where I work basically in sculpture in a multitude of different mediums and processes. So I'm standing here next to a red mannequin that was part of a public sculpture that I did about 3 years ago. The piece was called Red Man in White Cage on Green Hill, and it was a large interactive sculptural piece that was all about the ideas of entrapment or the lack of access that comes with disability in our modern world. So, as I say, my studio here, I work in many different ways. On my right, I've got some pots that I've collected that I'm working with, and over to my left, I've got my main working area with a series of pieces that are in process. I nearly always work with assistants because of my blindness, and I enjoy the help of my assistant when it comes to measuring or discussing colour and various other parts of the processes I undertake. So, like everyone, the COVID experience has come with its challenges and problems. My life has, like everyone else, been affected negatively, but there are some positive aspects that have come out of what's happened. I've recently gone back to college, and of course that has been severely affected by the COVID pandemic and the ensuing lockdowns. So I've had to think hard about the way I work and the way I interact with college life. It's gone largely online, and the art processes that have gone on have likewise become very restricted, and I've moved most of my operations here into the studio. But of course, challenges like lockdowns have a positive side to them. They force one into thinking about new ways of working, new ways of creating. If creativity is an important part of your life, it's imperative that you find new ways of doing what you love. So it has had its benefits, but like everyone, I'm looking forward to things returning to normality.
Before the pandemic, I was making work and exhibiting it in galleries. And then I had to find a new way of engaging with audiences. During the pandemic, there was obviously a period of adjustment where I had to adapt my practice. And as a printmaker, I had to find new ways of engaging audiences. I had been making haptic prints where people could physically engage with my work, incorporating sculpture and printmaking. But now we're no longer able to touch work, so I had to find new ways that people could enjoy my practice. I incorporated video with my printmaking. This way, people, if they couldn't see my work, could hear it, and it also worked well via digital mediums. I have found through the pandemic that my practice has developed in new and exciting directions that I could never have foreseen.
So, the COVID pandemic, as a blind person, we're used to isolation and the negativity that comes with being visually impaired. So for me, it wasn't as a bigger heartache to be at home. I've always had my art. My art has helped me through losing my sight, ironically. So I've just really honed in on my practice, and so the pandemic I wanted to put down the pandemic in a way that I use my artistic practice. So the practice I use is Braille. So for me, I created lots of artwork inspired by the pandemic, the words, and behind me you can see the COVID diary piece, which is a daily diary, colour coded in Braille, and it's going to be 3 panels and it's going to be great.